episode of Tap Outs and Touchdowns.
That's right, everybody. It's another episode of Tap Outs and Touchdowns, a live football episode of Tap Outs and Touchdowns. As always, it's your guy, Billy Rye. Things are a little hectic tonight because I had to rush to get back on my computer. I just recorded an episode of the Cat Cave and it crashed out literally as I was signing off. So I had to reset my computer and I'm trying to catch up a couple other things. But we're here now. It's our last episode for the next 2 weeks. So that's pretty exciting. Bill, what's going on, man? How's everything?
It's happening, man. Football Wednesday. And like you said, we're not going to be here next week. We're going to be, it might not be the sun, but at least we're going to be down in the Caribbean. We don't know yet.
Yeah. Listen, my mom is actually watching on Instagram right now. Gave me the warning, there might be something a little forming down there. I'm like, listen, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. It's not like I actually just talked about it with Shannon over on. Matter of fact, I think I said it on the Cat Cave that if I wind up being on one of those situations where you can fit two people on a door and I'm the one hanging out outside the door, like Titanic style, I wouldn't be able to fit because it would take two people that I would get on. I'm kidding. My mom's freaking out. Don't you say that?
Let's say this. For everybody that doesn't know, ships are faster now than storms are. So this isn't the 1700s where the Treasure Coast became the Treasure Coast in Florida because so many ships got wiped out by hurricanes. It's not like that anymore. We can outrun them.
We can outrun them.
Yes.
Running a 4.540.
I've done it before. I've actually done it before on a ship many years ago where the hurricane came through and they avoided it. It went through St. Martin. We were supposed to go to St. Martin. They took us to Jamaica instead. So we avoided the hurricane.
Oh man. Yeah. That's listen, they have those sort of precautions in place. So, we're going to be on a boat and we're not going to be here. We're not going to be at work next week. We're not going to be doing anything constructive or serious. We're just going to be having a good time. So that's all that matters. Yep. Whether you're watching the show tonight, we're on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Make sure you leave a comment to let us know that you're here. Join the conversation as we got some stuff to get to tonight before we are gone for the next 2 weeks. And Bill, I'm going to let you start off with your Homer's Corner because it's probably more important than anything else going on the show. So, Bill, I'm going to let you take it away.
Yeah, I just wanted to say to everybody away from the sports world at this point, maybe more important than anything we do all year is go out and vote this week. I don't even know what day is it, the 5th? I think it's the 5th.
Yeah, it's the Tuesday the 5th, I believe.
Yeah, so you have to go out and vote. It doesn't matter. It's the most important thing that you'll do all year. It does not matter who you're voting for. I do not care. Go out and vote. There are so many people in this world, in countries that cannot choose their leaders. And thank goodness that we live in the greatest country in the world that we absolutely can choose our leaders. We can choose. We have the right to speak. We have the right to vote. And we take that for granted way too often. Way too often. So I talk to so many people that just say, I'm not going to vote. I don't care. My vote doesn't count. BS. Go vote. Make it happen. Vote for whoever you want. Vote for me. Heck, I'll take some write-ins. That'd be really cool. But anyway, go vote. That's my Homer's Corner.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned vote for me. I was working on a comedy bit about it. I don't think it's going to go very far though.
Jeez, here we go.
It starts off political, as far as what people think is going to get taken away if one person gets elected and yada yada yada. And I'm like, well, listen, in fairness, anything that isn't protected federally should be protected by your state, right? That's a part of government, states' rights. And you know how I know nobody's showing up to the primaries and nobody's voting in local elections? Because where we voted, we've already voted early. And when we voted, about 75% of the positions were people running unopposed. So that tells me that either people don't care or people aren't voting or there's just not people running. So I think it was SC House of Representatives District 9 I wrote myself in. So if anybody's in the Simpsonville area that votes, and if you want to write in somebody, whatever that district is that's open, that was only one person, I voted for myself, write me in. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll actually put like a write-in campaign for myself, and maybe I'll get elected to office.
For President Ryan, I will run on this platform that day one, I will write an executive order that the NFL must employ professional officials. That's my platform. That's all I care about. That's it. Well, I mean, I care about other things. But we're fixing that day one.
I mean, listen, I'll take it, dude. Like, if there's something that we can I mean, listen, there's a lot of things that we can fix. But nevertheless, like Bill said, go out and vote. It's not voting. The election, like voting day, is not Tuesday. You can vote between now and Tuesday. Tuesday, election day, is the last day to vote. So make sure you go out and vote while it's available. And while you can, like you said, not many other countries can do this. And, you can
There's so many that cannot. So many. There are many that can, but there's so many that cannot. And it's important to understand where we live and why we live here and the history of why we're able to do this. And yeah, it's you just go vote. Just go vote. Just pick somebody.
Yeah, just pick somebody, even if it's the
educate yourself.
candidate.
If you educate yourself on one thing, it's probably more educated than half the people that are voting. Most people care about the fact that Donald Trump is dressed up like a garbage man today.
If you don't want to vote for Donald Trump, if you don't want to vote for Kamala Harris, there's a libertarian candidate. I couldn't tell you his name, but at least it's not one of those. Oh my God! What is the South Park?
One of those people.
South Park. It's when they did the election between Trump and Hillary. It was between a giant douche and a turd sandwich. So I'm not sure, and I believe Trump was the giant. I don't even remember who was who. Whatever it is, you can compare the same two that are running for office now if you really wanted to. I know people will say one thing or the other. It doesn't matter what we say. Go out and vote. Vote for who you believe is going to do the best for you and your family and all that stuff. Go out and vote while you can.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to transition to that other than to say that, like, I'm rocking my Amon-Ra jersey
sports.
this week.
Go sports.
Go sports. Go sports balls. Although Amon-Ra St. Brown did not have a huge day for the Detroit Lions, I believe he did catch a touchdown in this game. Man. The Tennessee Titans are doing their very best to make sure that people know that the Carolina Panthers aren't the only really, really bad team in the NFL. 52-14, my Lions took out the Tennessee Titans a week after they traded DeAndre Hopkins to the Kansas City Chiefs. To be fair, I don't think Hopkins did anything with the Chiefs, but it's not like the Titans could do much with anybody. They came out and tied it. It was 14-all in the first quarter, and it might have been the first half. It was 14-all at one point in the first half. Detroit scored 21 points in the second, 17 in the third, to just absolutely shellac the Tennessee Titans. We're gonna get to trying to decide who the best team in the NFL is here in a little while, but I know it's the Titans, okay? But the Lions look really good in this game. And considering that, they don't have Aiden Hutchinson, they're still looking to go get a pass rusher, before the trade deadline next week. I just had to get on here and brag about the fact that, of all the beatdowns that have taken place the last 2 years in the NFL, your Miami Dolphins got one over the Denver Broncos last year when y'all dropped 70 points on Sean Payton, which we'll get to in a minute as well. The New Orleans Saints did it twice this year and haven't won a game since. And so my Lions are the most recent to put a 50 spot on somebody in the NFL. So how about them Lions, if you will? The new America's team. Have you seen that map, Bill? Where it's showing gradually everybody's shifting to where the whole country's pulling for Detroit at this point because of how bad they've been for so long.
I mean, yeah.
And now they're really good. But that's always how it turns out, though.
You can't. That's not true. That's not true. No.
People rooted for the Patriots until the Patriots dynasty started. People rooted for Kansas City. They wanted to see Patrick Mahomes win one.
If you win the Super Bowl, it turns. People are going to continue. Yeah. So if you win the Super Bowl this year, it will turn. Okay, you've had your fun to get off the stage. It's we're done.
Yeah, no, I want to stay on that stage as long as we can. But nevertheless, all right, let's go ahead and get into some football talk here tonight. This might actually, for all the times that we've gone long, this might actually be a pretty short show this week because we've only got a couple things to get into in regards to college football. Not a great weekend in college football last weekend. Some notable games, you had Ole Miss beat Oklahoma. LSU Texas A&M was a pretty good game. I mean, I think that's on this list. As far as Texas A&M now sits atop the SEC standings with the win over number 8 LSU in Baton Rouge at night, which is pretty impressive. I'm going to go ahead and start off talking college football. They're talking about how absolutely dog crap wrong I was about Navy and Notre Dame. I told you, Volley Polly asked me earlier, or I mentioned it last week, and I told him I will come on the show and eat crow. I said Navy was going to come out and beat Notre Dame outright. I wonder if I can find that score very quickly. I want to say that score was like 52-14.
It was 51-14.
Yeah, so absolute beatdown. Navy no longer ranked in the top 25, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll go ahead and eat crow. Bill, did you watch any of this game? I think we were getting ready for your daughter's Halloween party that night.
Yeah, I had a horribly busy Saturday. Honestly, man, I haven't watched much college football all season because of the way my life has gone. So
touche.
I've tried. I sit down every chance I get. I have it on in the background, whatever's going on. But no, I didn't watch much of this game. I usually have only an opportunity to watch 1 or 2 games a week. So
I watched
a lot of highlights, and those weren't very good.
I watched the first quarter and watched as Notre Dame built a lead, and then I kind of paid attention as Navy sort of fought back into it, and then Notre Dame just pulled away like most people expect them to do. I think they were like a 2-touchdown favorite last week. But nevertheless, next up in college football,
it wasn't competitive at all. Yeah.
Indiana, number 16, Indiana remains unbeaten with the win over Washington. I don't know where they sit in the rankings this week. 13. Yeah. So if the college football playoff came out, the undefeated Indiana Hoosiers fit outside the top 12. Do you think Indiana's not getting the respect they deserve? I mean, they're one of 2 undefeated teams left in college football?
We talked about it last week. They're not getting the respect they deserve. And unfortunately, a team like Illinois, they got smacked by Oregon this week, where we talked about Indiana and Illinois both having really good records and possibly they're not getting the respect they deserve. Illinois gets smacked. But Indiana, they keep winning, man. They keep winning. And I can't believe a team that's in the Big Ten that has an undefeated record that has beat some traditional Big Ten powerhouses is not getting any respect. And we're sitting at 8-0 at 13. BYU is getting more respect than Indiana right now. That makes very little sense.
I was getting ready to go through the teams, the undefeated teams. By the way, again, if you're watching the show on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're watching the show, join the conversation, leave a comment wherever you're at, and we'll read them live on the air. And as I say that, Volley Polly says, if you hadn't gotten to it yet, he has his Gamecocks in the risk reward in his pick ems. He wants to know Volley Polly does a podcast and he does a risk reward where people get to go and pick against him. And his question this week is who has more sacks in that game between South Carolina and hadn't gotten there yet, but thank you, Polly. Getting back to the undefeated teams in college football. Sorry. Podcast Mini also wants to say that the teams Indiana has beaten have not been Ohio State, Penn State, or Michigan. That's why they're not getting the respect.
I don't care. I don't care. You're still playing in the Big Ten. You're still undefeated in the Big Ten. Now, granted, that traditionally they're not a power, and probably they don't have the recruits. I mean, we know what their recruiting classes look like, so that's probably what you're basing your ranking on. But at the same time, why are they not in the top 10 when BYU is? That doesn't make sense to me.
The other undefeated teams in the AP top 25 are Oregon at 8-0, sitting at number 1. Penn State at number 3, sitting at 7-0. They get a big matchup with Ohio State this weekend. Miami sitting at 5 at 8-0. They've escaped with a couple of wins in ACC play. Like you mentioned, BYU sitting there right at 8-0 in the top 10 at number 9. Then you've got Iowa State at 7-0, right above Indiana. They're actually tied for 11th with Clemson in the AP top 25. And then he's got Indiana at 8-0. And then, believe it or not, Pitt in the ACC is 7-0 at number 18, and then Army still undefeated at 7-0. I look at the AP top 25, and you got to think big matchup this weekend of Penn State, Ohio State. You're going to have more stuff. You're going to have some tough matchups with Iowa State going down the stretch. Look at Boise State at 15. If South Carolina can somehow knock off Texas A&M this weekend,
stop.
They've got 3 losses to South Carolina, but Their losses were to Ole Miss, who is currently ranked, I can't even find them now, 19th after the loss to they beat Oklahoma, but they sit at 6-2. They lost, and then out to Alabama and LSU. So you wonder how high South Carolina jumps into the top 25 if they're able to knock off the number one team in the SEC right now in Texas A&M. So I'm curious to see when the college football playoff ranking, the initial ranking comes out, where the committee puts Indiana. Let's see a couple more comments. Podcast Smitty, Shannon Smith, my co-host on the Cat Cave in the thing I mentioned him a second ago. Sadly, the AP cares, and that sucks. And then Trey Davis says Gamecocks by 90 against Texas A&M. I like that optimism. Bill, other notable games last week in college football. Alabama, it says shoots if you're looking at the show. If you're looking at
Missouri just showed they're not for real. That's all.
Yeah. I was going to say the same thing.
Missouri team
shuts out Missouri 34-0. I already mentioned the fact Texas A&M knocked off LSU, number 1 in the SEC. Number 5, Texas, goes on the road and almost becomes the second top 10 SEC team to go into Nashville and lose. This game was actually a 10-point game with about 2 minutes left. Vanderbilt scores and almost gets the onside kick. They were previously ranked in the top 25. I don't believe they're ranked now after the loss to Texas, which doesn't make sense to me. But Texas survives number 25 Vanderbilt 27-24. Bill, you and I have talked off the air of the games on the South Carolina schedule that are upcoming. Like, I'm not so worried about Missouri anymore, right? Obviously not worried about Wofford. I think we've got a shot against A&M only because we're playing at night and we're coming off a bye week. I think we're going to be prepared. I don't think we're going to win. I think we got a shot. But I'm genuinely concerned about Vanderbilt at this point. Like, how did this happen?
That's a great question. I have no answer for that. Vanderbilt is playing decent football, and you have to play them in their house at 4:00 in the afternoon, which means it's going to get dark very quickly.
Yeah,
you got problems with that. Are you better than Texas? Mm-mm. Are you better than Alabama? Well, we already saw that. I know. You lost the game. You're there, but these teams lost to Vanderbilt in their house. You got problems with Vanderbilt. That's unfortunate because usually you look at that part of the schedule and you see that V there and you're like, yes, we get a break that week. Not anymore. Vanderbilt's legit.
Hey, Andy's watching over on Instagram. Andy Hunter, what's up, bud? No, like, my question about Vanderbilt is, like, a couple years ago. God, it's been damn near 20 years at this point. Vanderbilt was coached by James Franklin. And for 2 or 3 years, Vanderbilt was a ranked team, top 25 team, played consistently. And then James Franklin took his ball and went to Penn State amongst, after the Jerry Sandusky ordeal in Penn State.
Cannot blame him.
Does this not feel like one of those
Ohio State doormat?
Let me ask you a question. Does this Vanderbilt situation because we just talked about the fact that the recruits aren't there for Indiana. We know that Vanderbilt's not having top 10 recruiting classes over the last 5-10 years, and they're still beating a team like Alabama, competing with a team like Texas. Does this situation not feel like something like the Lane Kiffin Tennessee year where, like, this guy who I don't even know the name of their coach, but the guy that's coaching Vanderbilt right now is overachieving, doing really well. And so, like, some team's going to fire their coach and they are going to throw the bag at this guy at Vanderbilt. You think he's only a one and done at Vanderbilt here?
I mean, is it a year? Maybe, but it's not more than 2 if he continues this in a second season. But this is what you have to do. You're going to get the bag, right? So that's what they're looking to do. If somebody does that this season, of course he goes, because you don't know if you're going to have the magic next year, and he might not have the same opportunity. So yeah, this could be a one and done for. I don't know his coach. I don't know the coach's name either, to be honest.
I mean,
you're proving my Indiana point for me.
Yeah, I mean, listen, shout out to Vanderbilt, man, because y'all are doing what South Carolina fans have wanted to do for years in one season, and you've got. Listen, I'm not going to speak for all South Carolina fans. I had one guy, a friend of mine, tell me that Clark Lee. Thanks, Volley Polly, with that information. And Trey Davis also says has great coaching. He had playing tough last year too. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like you wonder if Vanderbilt's got enough money in their pockets to keep him around. But shout out to Vanderbilt because they're playing some good football. And I was going to say, they might not have all South Carolina fans shaking in their boots, but I am genuinely nervous. I was getting ready to say that I had one guy tell me that we've had Vanderbilt's number the past few years. I'm not worried about Vanderbilt. This isn't that same Vanderbilt.
No.
This isn't that same Vanderbilt.
No. That's really
Let's move.
Scary if any players on your team feel that same way. That's scary.
I know. Let's move into this coming week in college football. I already mentioned a marquee matchup between number 4 Ohio State taking on number 3 Penn State. I actually have this line wrong. We're doing this in Podcast Pick Ems, so I'm going to fix that, Bill. Bill, are there any games that stand out to you in this week that I know we're going to be on the road? We're going to be moving, trying to get to this cruise. But is there any game that stands out as a game that you want to watch this weekend?
No, because I will be able to. Okay, so if I were to watch one, I mean, I'm a Florida fan, so I'm going to watch the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. At least pay attention to the score of that one, Florida, Georgia. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the schedule right now, Ryan, trying to decide.
No, listen,
I think the biggest
Clemson.
I want to say one thing. So we were talking about Indiana. Ohio State just played this past week, and they played Nebraska, right? They darn near lost in their house to Nebraska. Do you remember who Nebraska played the week before?
Was it Indiana that they got smacked by?
And Indiana beat them by 40-something. Same team. And this is my issue with these AP voters and who it's Ohio State, so they're allowed to lose a game to Oregon, which we know Oregon is a good team. Obviously, Oregon, put a beating on Illinois last week. But they lose a game to Illinois. They're a one-loss team. They're still sitting at 4 in the country, and they played a like team that Indiana played the week before. And Indiana gets 0 respect with a 13th ranking after just destroying Nebraska. And then the next week, Nebraska goes out and almost beats Ohio State in their house. I don't understand that, and that bothers me. And I kind of have this weird feeling. I'm not sure if Ohio State's overrated or what this is. But I think this game is going to be a little bit weird. I don't think either of these teams are relevant. I don't think either one of them have a shot at the national title. I'm not worried about either one of these teams in the playoffs.
The other problem is they're playing at noon. Like, this is the big noon kickoff over on Fox.
That's good, though. That's fun.
It's a great marquee matchup at noon. This seems like this is one of those night games that Penn State would rather play playing Ohio State at night. I mean, listen, there's some fun games to look out for. Obviously, your marquee matchup, the 7:30 kickoff on ABC, Texas A&M, number 10 in the country, officially a top 10 team, going to South Carolina. People love the defense in South Carolina. This isn't me being a homer. There's an A&M, some chick that works for Barstool that went on and talked about Texas A&M's schedule, and she mentioned South Carolina. Not a great defense, and absolutely got trolled all over the internet and still tried to defend herself with it. We actually have some viewers popping in now. Wherever you're watching, Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, make sure you leave a comment, join the conversation. We'll read them live on the air. But Trey Tolles is actually going to be at the A&M South Carolina game this weekend. So
I think Texas A&M got much scarier this week. And I said they would.
I prefer them coming off of a win than doing an Ole Miss and Alabama and coming in off of a loss.
Right. I agree with that, but I think they got scarier. I think that all season long, Texas A&M has gotten better at football. And they just showed you last week when they thumped a top 5 team.
But A&M beat LSU the same way South Carolina beat LSU. The problem is that the officials pulled that game away from us. I mean, LSU would have 2 losses right now if it wasn't for bad officiating.
Anyway, you are what your record says you are, Ryan.
Not this year. But let's look at some other key matchups. An ACC matchup: Louisville at Clemson. Clemson, number 11 in the country, 6-1. Louisville was thought to be a lot better than they are this year. They're sitting at 5-3, but still could be one of those trap games for Clemson. Preseason was one of those games that Clemson was worried about, so I think it still ought to be. You get military academies going against each other. Air Force and Army, a noon kickoff. If you're not interested in Penn State, Ohio State, except for the fact that Air Force is 1-6. But Trey Tolles also, real quick, is tired of facing teams coming off of a loss. So we're together on that. Vanderbilt Auburn got a little more interesting. Auburn is a 7-point favorite, despite the fact that Auburn's best win of the season has been against Kentucky last week. And Vanderbilt just lost to Texas by 3. I don't understand that 7-point spread in favor of Auburn. You mentioned 3:30 kickoff. This used to be the big 3:30 kickoff on CBS. I believe this is the ABC game this year as Florida and Georgia play. Georgia, the number 2 team in the country. Bill, can y'all cover 16.5?
I think so. I don't know. Georgia is a Jekyll and Hyde team. And Florida
I was watching
finally
Paul
showed up.
Feinbaum. I was watching Paul Feinbaum earlier, and there was a guy that legit thought that Florida had a chance to upset Georgia this weekend. I don't see it. But
you know what? I can't. I'm not like you and I are separate or different when we talk about being a homer. I can't pick my team as an upset because I'm a homer. I can't do that. I can't say, well, they're going to win because I'm a Florida fan. Do I think they have a shot? I think they have the better quarterback.
Here's an interesting matchup. I don't mean to just write you off, but I'm with you.
You don't even want to react to that. I just called DJ Lagway a better quarterback than Carson Beck, and you're like, you're right. You're right. I know I'm right.
Hold on. Does anybody Podcast Mini, Shanna Smith, does anybody know what is going on with the SEC? I have no idea.
Yes.
Nobody does.
Yes, we do. We said they were going to beat on each other, and that's what they're
doing.
Oh,
yeah. You know what? We did.
We said that.
We did say
so
the
there's
SEC
too
was
many
going to
good
beat each
teams
other
now
up.
in the SEC. There are two when they brought in Oklahoma and they brought in Texas. You've loaded the chamber. There's too many guys in one room fighting for the same prize, and they're just going to beat on each other.
Except Oklahoma isn't that good.
It doesn't matter. They still are Oklahoma. They still have athletes on that roster. Their quarterback stinks.
If you're an ACC fan, there's a unique game to watch at 8:00 over on the ACC network. Number 18 Pitt, I just mentioned they were undefeated, is traveling out west to SMU, the number 20 team in the country. They are number 4 and number 3 in the ACC behind Clemson. I don't know who the number 2 team is. But an undefeated and a 7-1 team, ranked on ranked matchup in the ACC doesn't happen that often. So if you don't care to watch Texas A&M and South Carolina, there's a fun game for you to watch over on the ACC network. Volley Polly says 16 points. Bad take, Bill. I like the bad take, Bill. If you say it wrong again, Ryan, bad take, Bill. I'm stealing that. Sorry, Volley Polly. That's it.
16 points. You don't think Florida can cover 16 points against Georgia?
Kentucky covered. I think. And didn't y'all?
Depends on what Georgia team shows up.
Yeah. Yep. You're right. And it's a neutral site game, so you got that going for you too. Some interesting stuff to watch in college football this weekend. You know what I'll be trying to watch at 7:30 over on ABC. Let's talk about some NFL action. We're not really talking about like games this week. Some stuff took place in the NFL this past weekend that I kind of got heated about. And I talked about this on the Cat Cave because this happened to the Carolina Panthers as Sean Payton, if you're not familiar with Sean Payton, former coach of the New Orleans Saints, now coaching the Denver Broncos, up 21 points against a one-win Carolina Panthers. Bill, did you catch any of this? They faked a punt that was unsuccessful, and they faked a field goal that was successful in an attempt, it's what Sean Payton said, to run out the clock and to put the points. He said, quote, "I've been up 28 points in the fourth quarter before and lost. So we are trying to score. Basically his suggestion was stop us." Yeah. But like a fake field goal and a fake punt? Like that's not your typical play calling up 21 points.
These are professional athletes. These are professional. They get paid for this. What are you talking about? Stop it.
I don't care. We're talking about the same guy.
I will drop 73 on you. I don't care.
No. Listen, I would be fine if they dropped 70 points if they did it the right way.
It is the right way. Stop
It's not the right way. Fake
It's
punts
a
and
practice
fake
at
field
that
goals.
point. You're playing against a practice squad on the other team. Like that's their garbage. That's their fault. Let them deal with it.
No. First of all, when Miami beat Denver 70-12, whatever it was last year, Miami wasn't running trick plays to do it. They were running their offense, and New Orleans couldn't stop.
But they were throwing bombs when they were up by 40.
That's different. At least the offense is on the field. And not to mention, I don't remember what Denver's record was when you beat them up like that, but they got better after that.
It was like week
But
3.
the Panthers have won one game. They just traded away their second best player on offense this week in Deontay Johnson. They were down 21 points. We're talking about the same head coach that was suspended from the NFL for a year because he was leading the charge of his team trying to actively, intentionally hurt people. That bounty gate is the reason why the Minnesota Vikings did not play in the Super Bowl in Brett Favre's essential final year in the NFL, because they were deliberately going out and trying to hurt him in that NFC Championship game. And they did. Brett Favre got hurt in that game. Sean Payton, point is, you can disagree with me. You can say the professionals all you want. Sean Payton is a clown. I hope I said this on the Cat Cave. I hope he stubs a different toe every time he walks into a different room until his foot falls off. I hope that every team beats him as bad, if not worse, than the Dolphins beat him last season until he's working for another NFL pregame show on Sunday mornings that nobody watches. Sean Payton's a clown. And again, you can talk about the fact he's run up the score and the Panthers scored a garbage time touchdown. They won 28-14. It's not like they were up 30 and running fake punts. They were up 21. If you have to run trick plays up 21 points to beat a one-win team, that says a lot more about you than it does the one-win team that's fighting.
They're practicing at that point. I have no problem with it. I have zero problem with that.
I do. I think he's garbage. Even Shannon Smith says that man has no class.
Well, I mean, that's no class for Bounty Gate. I'll give you that. But to run plays that are in your playbook, just stop.
It'd be different if you just plain going for it on fourth down. That's different. Fake field goals and fake punts.
Practice.
No. That's what practice is for. It's garbage.
You aren't practicing. You're playing a practice squad on the other side. You're practicing the whole game anyway. Most teams are against Carolina.
Fake punt up 21 points against the worst team in the NFL. I hope he gets paper cuts every time he goes to his playbook. Like that bum. I never want to see him on my TV again.
Bounty Gate is no class. Bounty Gate is no class. Running plays.
Sean Payton is no class.
I agree with that. I don't disagree with you. However, don't cry to me about a team running plays in their playbook. Let's not.
Let's talk about something that you and I might have finally gotten right. We've been waiting for a while to get this one right.
What did we get right?
Last week
Anthony Richardson? Are we going to talk about Anthony Richardson?
Yes. Last week against the Tennessee Titans, Anthony Richardson scrambled to get the ball down within the 5-yard line to make it 3rd and goal, and he tapped out of the game. If you don't know what this means, when a player needs a breather, he taps his helmet and gets someone to come and relieve him. The only problem is that never happens with quarterbacks. And after the game, they asked him, because it looked like he kind of got rolled up on the play, and after the game, the media asked Anthony Richardson, hey, so what was up with that calling out of the game on 3rd and goal? He said, I'll be honest with you, man, I was tired. He was tired. So he pulled himself out of the game. I think Micah Parsons has a podcast, and I think on his podcast, he came out and said, listen, when somebody asks you something like that in the future, lie. Don't tell the truth. Lie. As a result of all of this, and the Colts lose to the Texans last week, the Indianapolis Colts have now benched Anthony Richardson and plan on rolling with Joe Flacco, probably for the foreseeable future. Bill, we talked about it last year when he got drafted. We said in 4 or 5 years, whoever drafts Anthony Richardson is going to be out of a job. And the problem is that we didn't expect him to go and get Joe Flacco, and Joe Flacco makes Indianapolis look at least competent on offense. What are your thoughts on this? And does Anthony Richardson get his job back, or did he just officially lose his job as a starting quarterback?
I think until Joe Flacco screws up, he definitely lost his job as starting quarterback. It's unfortunate. This is Anthony Richardson in a nutshell, man. This is who he is. He thinks he's very special. It's unfortunate because I don't think he was that guy going to Florida, but everybody just keeps telling him how fantastically talented he is. I love that he's a physical specimen. That's great. But he plays quarterback, the one position in the entire team that uses this more than uses this. And he's got none of this. So it's bad. I think it's terrible. I did see, I want to tell you about it.
Oh no, we're getting
post. Hang on, did you see the X post today? Where someone posted on X and said, I've hit Anthony Richardson mode today, and it said underneath it in parentheses, I'm taking a break from work because I'm tired.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I like that. Anthony
Shannon
Richardson
Smith
mode.
says he has no empathy, or he has empathy but no sympathy. Send him down. Here's probably my favorite comment that we've seen in a long time on this show. EA Sports has the responsibility to lower Anthony Richardson's stamina and toughness in Madden.
Stamina would be great if he comes out like every fourth play.
That is that's got to be a comment Hall of Fame on the show. What an absolute
He said
killer.
He did a lot of running on the previous play. He did a lot of running and he was tired.
Tell him to go watch video of Michael Vick, because Michael Vick ran all over the field, never came out because he was tired.
Lot of players do. Brock Purdy runs all over the place. I don't know if you watch him play. He runs a lot. He never comes out of the game.
I think he just proved us right this past week. I don't think he's not accurate. He's I just don't see him being a long-term quarterback here in the NFL.
He's Jamarcus Russell 2.0, and you and I both called it. It's ridiculous that he got drafted as high as he did. I don't care how strong, fast, and how far he can throw a football. He has zero mental capacity to play quarterback and didn't want to figure it out at Florida. He just wanted to get the paycheck in the NFL.
Maybe they move him over to wide receiver. Who knows? All right, let's move on here, because this is something that I'm not sure how comfortable you are talking about, Bill. The Arizona Cardinals take on the Miami Dolphins.
I don't want to talk about it.
You don't want to talk about it? Well,
no,
too bad, because I gotta fix the text on the scroll, on the ticker there. The Miami Dolphins get Tua Tagovailoa back after his 5th concussion, and the offense looked a lot better, but they were still, believe it or not, the lowest scoring offense in the NFL going into last week's game against the Cardinals. And the Cardinals spoiled the return of Tua Tagovailoa. Listen, you've got playmakers all over that offense between Achane and Mostert, Hill, Jalen Waddle, OBJ is somewhere floating around there. Jonnu Smith has emerged as a playmaker for this offense. What is wrong with the Miami Dolphins, Bill?
Well, what was wrong prior to last week was that Tua Tagovailoa was injured. Last week, the defense just didn't show up. I'm not sure exactly what happened. I don't know if there's anything you can really pinpoint. They were decent against the run. They just couldn't stop Kyler Murray. Just could not stop him. He had wide receivers open all over the field. I have no idea what their game plan was. They ran a lot of zone, and they just didn't know who to cover. I hate to blame things like injuries, but Javon Holland got injured at the beginning of that game. He has a knee injury and missed the entire game. So he was hurt in the first quarter, missed the entire game. So I don't know if whoever took his place, I think it's Marcus May is who his backup is. I don't know if he's not as good at cover. I have no idea. They just didn't play well on defense. And that 27 points they scored 27 points. That's enough to win in the NFL. They gave up 28. Just didn't play well.
I don't know what their record is at this point.
2-5. And they play in Buffalo on Sunday.
Do the Dolphins have enough to make a run to make the playoffs at this point?
I think so. I think Tua put it best. He said in his first season, they started the season 1-7 and then won 7 games in a row. It was 7. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, absolutely they can rip off a run here, but their hardest part of the schedule was the back half of the schedule. So it's going to be very difficult. They have to go play in Buffalo. There's other teams that are very good teams. I think Houston's on the schedule. They have teams that are tough that they're going to have to play. They have to play better than they did last week. That's it.
Yeah, they're
Tua was good. Tua was good. Tua had a decent game.
Yeah.
He did not play poorly. So
and
high 90 passer rating. Like, I'm good with that in his first game back.
And he went up. We ran up on a scramble and slid down to a standing ovation.
Did the thing where I love that. That's good stuff. That's vintage Tua.
They're at Buffalo this week. Let me find it back here.
I don't know if you noticed on that scramble, did you see the ovation? There was a guy actually blowing Tua kisses, and they put him on national television, and nobody said anything. What is a dude in the stands blowing him kisses for? That was weird.
I mean, there's a lot of things they show on the stadium.
We're just excited. Let's blow Tua kisses.
In week 10, they're on the road at the Rams. Then they get Vegas, New England. Yeah. They're at Green Bay. They get a bad Jets team. They're at Houston in week 15. San Francisco at Cleveland, who just knocked off Baltimore last week.
They're terrible.
They just knocked off Baltimore.
It's Jameis Winston, I know.
And they finished the season at the Jets. Yeah, there's a shot, but at 2-5, I think there might just be way too much to overcome. for the Dolphins. We'll see. We got a lot of football left to play. We're not quite after this week. We'll officially be halfway through the NFL season, and so we'll really get to see kind of where we are.
Realistically, in unchallenged games, I see 5 wins. I mean, you've got the Raiders, Patriots, Jets twice, and probably the Browns. I don't think the Browns will do that every week, so we'll see. So let's give them 5 wins there, and then the games that are going to be contested are at the Bills, at the Rams, at the Packers, at the Texans, 49ers at home, and those are going to be tough games.
So that puts you at 5 and 7.
Yeah, that would not be enough to make the playoffs. They have to win games that they probably shouldn't.
Of those 5 games, you probably have to go 3-2, and that still might not be enough. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go. Let's see what the comment is that just came in. Bill, are you watching the Yankees?
I'm not. I did just pull up the score though. Yankees up 4-0 in the bottom of the second. Let's go. Yeah, I wore the hat. Let's go.
Yeah, it's the World Series is happening literally right now, and we're talking.
Aaron
football.
Judge hit a home run tonight.
I mean, listen, you had to do something after going down 3-0, and I think that you were energized. Down 3-0.
Should have won the game. We should have won game 1. That was ridiculous. Aaron Boone, what happened there? Anyway, that's baseball.
All right. Last thing we're going to talk before we get into fantasy football buys and sells.
Hey, Gary. Sorry,
there are. Sorry. Right now, there's one undefeated team left in the NFL, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs. They are
best team in football.
They're not doing it very convincingly at times.
Doesn't matter.
So you don't think there's a debate that there might be a better team than the Kansas City Chiefs, even though there might
1A, 1B. 1A, Kansas City. 1B, Detroit Lions.
Okay. I mean, listen, if that's all we got to say, that's all we got to say. I'll take 1A and 1B.
I think that was my preseason pick for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think I had Dolphins Lions. So Jazz Chisholm hit a home run too.
Like that. So. He hasn't done anything. If they start waking up, maybe we could see a series.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you. I think the best 2 teams in the NFL right now are the Chiefs and the Lions, and I don't think it's close. I think the Lions got caught early, and I think they're going to go on a run here going forward. They get Green Bay this week. I believe they play Green Bay again on Thanksgiving. Let's look at Detroit's schedule. At Green Bay, then at Houston, before they get Jacksonville, the Colts. I guess they play the Bears. Is it they get the Bears and Packers back to back.
Yeah, but they're both at home, and the Bills. So it's 3 games.
And then
straight.
They get the Bills at home. 3 straight home games against the Bears, Packers, and Bills. And so they're back on the road with the Bears and Niners.
You have a favorable schedule there in Detroit.
I mean, listen, Minnesota gave them all they could handle last week.
But we're getting the Darnold dump now. Now we're getting
touche. That too.
He's shot it. Everything's good, and he's had these great games. And then we saw this in Carolina where he just falls off the table and it doesn't continue. The adjustments are made, and he doesn't readjust himself.
Yeah, because they lost their second after being the last undefeated team left in the NFC. They lost their second straight game. If I can find it here. To the Rams this past week.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams getting the Puka Nacua Cooper Kupp 1-2 at wide receiver. So yeah, interesting to see what the Lions can do going forward, because you said favorable, but there's some tough matchups in the last 5 weeks of the season, and it could very well come down to week 18 and with the Vikings and Lions for the NFC North title on the line. So all right, that's it. We got some fun NFL games coming up this weekend. We'll get to them in Podcast Pick Ems. Let's go ahead and get into one of my favorite parts of the show, and that's where we talk fantasy football with bullies, buys, and sells, and Bill's Factor Crap. And I'll go ahead and let you know, Bill, you didn't really destroy me last week, but it looks a lot worse when you see the colors on the spreadsheet. I went 3-5. You went 4-4, which brings the overall season record. I'm 36-28. You are 38-26. So you have.
It's not very exciting, actually. That's not. I mean, that's not destroying. That's like you beat me by 1.
Yeah, so it looks a lot worse when I've got like the first 3 I get right, and then the last 5 I get wrong. Just absolutely crazy.
Wrong again, Ryan.
Yeah. Let's go into my quarterback that I'm buying this week, and I sort of mentioned it a second ago, as he's taking over the reins for the Indianapolis Colts, and that's Joe Flacco, currently projected 15.7 fantasy points at the Vikings, giving up the 9th most points to opposing quarterbacks. 15.7 is a really low projection. I know you're going to call it low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
But I mean, listen, Joe Flacco has come out. I mean, he might win comeback player of the year at this rate. Bill, factor crap. Over on the 15.7 points for the aging Joe Flacco.
Well, Joe's played in 3 games this season, and every game he's scored more than 17.5. So for them to be giving him 15.7 makes zero sense, regardless of who he's playing. So I think that's a fact.
All right, next up we've got at running back, and this is a risky choice, and that's running back Chuba Hubbard for the Carolina Panthers, projected 14.3 fantasy points. He's at home to the New Orleans Saints, who are giving up the 6th most points in against running backs in fantasy. Last week was Chuba Hubbard's first real bad week that he's had in quite some time. But listen, I mentioned it a second ago. The Carolina Panthers traded away Deontay Johnson. They may get Adam Thielen back in this game. They're going to have to rely heavy on the run game as Bryce Young is slated to start his 2nd consecutive game. Andy Dalton will serve as the backup with the injured thumb from the car accident that they suffered last week. I think Chuba Hubbard, I mean, I don't see how he doesn't exceed this. I think he finds the end zone. The Saints, after going 2-0 and blowing out these Panthers and the Cowboys, they have looked bad, not just on offense, they've looked bad on defense. Bill, what say you factor crap exceeding this 4.3 points for Chuba Hubbard?
Yeah, I can't feel this from Ryan. I think this is crap. He's only done this twice this season that he's beaten that, and this offense doesn't go with Bryce Young. No matter who, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just put 8 men in the box and just stop the run. Bryce Young's terrible. Yeah, I think this is crap.
All right, let's go over to a wide receiver. Here's a new name that I don't think I've put on here so far this year. Ladd McConkey, the rookie wide receiver out of Georgia, projected 13 fantasy points this week on the road at the Cleveland Browns, giving up the 5th most points to opposing wide receivers this season. Ladd McConkey, I think he found the end zone twice last week. That offense in Los Angeles, by way of the Chargers, seems to be getting better. I mean, 2 weeks ago, Justin Herbert threw for over 300 yards. He just didn't find the end zone. Last week, he found the end zone. I mean, he was my quarterback sell last week, and he put up like 37 fantasy points. And part of that was thanks to Ladd McConkey and his ability to go get the ball. Like, I don't know who to compare Ladd McConkey to. Maybe like a Cooper Kupp, maybe a Puka Nacua. We can also go up and get the high point balls. Bill, factor crap, Ladd McConkey over 13 fantasy points this week.
I like Ladd McConkey. In fact, I picked him up for my team, I think, a couple weeks ago. I did not play him last week, but I think I might start playing him moving forward. Side note, Ladd McConkey is not related to Phil McConkey, who used to play for the Giants back in the day, like in the mid-'80s. Did you know that? So for all of you that haven't had your name in the NFL, like Frick or Tomer, there's been 2 McConkeys.
And they're not related.
Not related.
I need a Frick in the NFL because
right? I feel like if we get 2 McConkeys, what's going on here?
I mean, I can't put my name on a video game. It's offensive, apparently. That's the problem that I've got.
Anyway, that's a side note. I'm going to take this one as a fact. I think Ladd, we were waiting for a breakout game. He's had some really, really good games. Not really good games, but some good games. He's been getting a lot of targets, and we were waiting for him to explode. He finally did. I think that continues there for LA. And I'm going to take a fact on Ladd McConkey. I might actually start him this week.
I'm going to give everybody a bonus wide receiver to think about this week, and that's Michael Pittman Jr.
I love that guy, by the way.
Indianapolis Colts, Michael Pittman?
Yeah, I do. I'm a big fan. I don't know why. I always draft him. I didn't get him this year.
See, I normally stay away from him in all the Colts, but he's listed as questionable right now. He is projected, and he only had 2 points last week, 9 points the week prior, but he is projected 12.6 fantasy points. The Vikings, who they're playing, are playing the Colts, give up the most points to opposing wide receivers. And in the 3 games that Michael Pittman played with Joe Flacco, he had 6 catches for 113 yards, 3 catches for 35 yards and a score, 3 catches for 35 yards and a score, 5 catches for 37 and a score. That's good for a 17, almost 15, and a 12.5 point fantasy day with Joe Flacco at quarterback. That's why I like Michael Pittman this week. So here's your bonus wide receiver in buys and sells. You buy that, Bill? You keep nodding your head. You like him.
I definitely like that. I think if you haven't been playing Michael Pittman because of how bad Richardson is, now you can actually put him in the lineup.
Yep. Speaking of which, this is why David Njoku winds up as my tight end buy this week, because he was hurt most of the season, but even when he came back in, when Deshaun Watson was playing quarterback, he wasn't doing all that well. And with Jameis Winston now granted the week prior he had a good fantasy game, but last week had a monster game with Jameis Winston at the helm in Cleveland. And it's monster for a tight end. I believe he had 16 fantasy points. This week he's projected 12.8 fantasy points. He's at home against the Chargers, who are giving up, I believe that's the 11th most points to opposing tight ends in fantasy this season. Bill, factor crap, David Njoku exceeds this 12.8 projection.
I like this. I do like this because I think they're a better passing team. Watson was so bad, right? So this is the two teams here we're talking about, the Colts and the Browns, that are going to probably be better passing teams. Jameis Winston came out and had a really nice game. By the way, honorable mention to Charles Tillman. Did you see what he did the last 2 weeks with the Browns? I think Charles Tillman had like over 30 points to wide receiver last week. I did pick him up, by the way, the week before.
Cedric Tillman?
Is it Cedric Tillman?
Yeah, he called him Charles Tillman. That's a safety. I was like, he's a safety. Like, what do you mean? No, I get it. It's cool. Yeah.
His last name is Tillman. He plays for the Browns. Look him up.
His first letter is C. So
C. It's a C. It could be Chad Tillman. I have no idea. Anyway.
It's Cedric. Yeah.
Cedric.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Cedric Tillman. Anyway, I like this. I think it's a fact. I think Njoku was really fun last year when Flacco was on that team throwing him the ball. I think it was fun to watch him play, and they were a decent team. And I think they might be again if Jameis Winston can play better than Deshaun Watson. So we'll see. I feel like it is Jameis Winston, though. When are you going to see him throw the other team too often?
Yeah, I'm with you. But as long as Njoku's getting targets, I think he's going to be set. Matter of fact, Aaron, my buddy Aaron, who's been on the show a couple times, he had a question about whether he was starting Njoku or Kyle Pitts this week. And I think most of us said the safer play was Njoku.
No.
Based on
Kyle Pitts, number 3 tight end in the league.
Yeah, but he's got a tough matchup this week.
I don't care.
And Njoku's
Focus
got a
that
favorable
up.
matchup.
He came off a huge 2-touchdown game. What are you talking about? Come on.
We all told him to go Njoku, so we'll see.
That's why you guys lose a lot.
I was about to drop a bad word. Ooh, I was this close. I was this close to dropping a bad word on you. I don't know if Bill froze up or if I froze up, but it looks like Bill is frozen on my screen.
I think you just censored yourself somehow. Your computer was like, "Ooh, no bad words."
No, you froze. You froze. I was this close to
froze.
dropping one. I can't wait for you to go back and watch this because your face was like frozen in confused face. Yeah, kind of like that. But anyway, let's get over to the bully sells for this week. And I'm starting off with quarterback Jordan Love for the Green Bay Packers. He's projected 20.6 points. That's a huge projection. He's at home against the Detroit Lions, giving up the 11th fewest points to opposing quarterbacks, as well as the fact that Jordan Love is dealing with, I believe, a groin injury.
Yeah.
So I don't like this projection. He's questionable. I think they're going to have him go, but I think he's going to be limited, which is why I'm selling Jordan Love this week. Bill, factor crap under 20.6 for Jordan Love.
I feel like this is a fact only because of the injury, and you're playing the best team in the NFC. In my opinion, the best team in the NFC. This is going to be a tough game for him. I feel bad for Jordan Love. I feel like the Green Bay Packers kind of had the opportunity to really grab that division, or at least be a really good competitor for the top of the division with the Detroit Lions. And Jordan Love has now run into 2 injuries now. So I feel bad for the guy, but yeah, I think it's going to be tough for him to make that point projection. Playing against the Lions, playing with an injury is going to be tough.
Yep. All right. That's both of us feeling that one. Let's go to the running back that I'm selling this week. And that's James Conner, projected 17 points. That's a huge running back projection. At home against the Chicago Bears, giving up the 9th fewest points to opposing running backs in fantasy. James Conner is one of those boomer bust guys. I don't remember how many points he scored last week as I try to pull it up right now.
In my scoring league, it was 14.5. I don't know. So every league's different.
Yeah, 14.9. He had a touchdown last week, which put him in a double-digit fantasy points. You get 6 points for the touchdown. And then the week prior, he ran for 100 yards, caught for 51. He's, as far as the projection goes, he hasn't beaten 17 points, but maybe 4 times all year. Week 1 and week 2, week 4 against the Commanders of all teams when he found the end zone, and then week 7 when he had 101 yards. He had 152 yards total offense. But again, tough matchup this week with the Bears. I don't like James Conner this week. Bill, what say you? 17 points. Are you taking the under? Or are you calling this crap?
I kind of feel like this one's tough. This isn't a low-hanging fruit situation, Ryan. This one's kind of a situation whether or not the Bears are willing to give that up. Kyler Murray obviously was what beat the Dolphins last week. James Conner didn't do much at all. I think this one's crap, Ryan. I think James Conner scores in this game.
Listen, I'll take it. Listen, you said this one wasn't low-hanging fruit. Has the rest of my stuff been low-hanging fruit? I thought I had some pretty good ones.
No, these are pretty good. These are pretty good. Except for I feel like that we've agreed on most of them. I think this one, I think James Conner is a pretty safe bet to do pretty well. Like you said, it's a high projection, but he was really, really good earlier in the season. And I think Miami focused on stopping him, and that's what made them susceptible to Kyler Murray. But with Kyler Murray doing that, now you got to flip back. So I'm not sure the Bears are ready for that.
Well, he scored in 3 of his first 4 games of the year, and since then has only scored once, and that was last week against the Dolphins. So he's not finding the end zone a lot, which is kind of concerning because even every single game that he's found the end zone, he's been in double-digit points. But in the one last week, he didn't hit that projection that he's got this week. So, listen, I love the fact that we disagree because that gives me another opportunity to be right. So let's go over to wide receiver. I don't know if this is low-hanging fruit or not, but I'm selling Tank Dell this week.
Oh, don't say that.
Why? Because you're starting him in fantasy this week?
Because he's on my team.
Yeah. I don't like Tank Dell this week with a 13-point projection. He's at the New York Jets, who are quietly giving up the second fewest points to wide receivers in fantasy. This is the Thursday night football game. Listen, Stephon Diggs tore his ACL last week, done for the year. Nico Collins is still on IR. I think you've got Dalton Schultz at tight end, but I don't know who the other targets are in Houston right now. I think Tank Dell is going to get wrapped up by the number 1 corner in this game. I think they're going to shut him down. They're going to make Joe Mixon take over this game on the ground.
That was sauce, by the way. I was putting a sauce on it.
Oh, okay. Yes, I see that now. But nevertheless, I get it now. It took a second. But, I don't like Tank Dell this week. Until they can come up with another receiver that can produce, until they can get Nico Collins back, I think their offense is about to become very one-dimensional, and the Texans are going to be as average as I thought they were going to be prior to the beginning of the season for the next few weeks. But again, the Jets are also very bad from like a win-loss perspective. But regardless, I still am selling Tank Dell this week. If I've got him, I'm not starting him. Bill, what say you? Fact or crap under on the 13 points?
It's fact. That's fact. Tank Dell had his first decent game of the season last week with 4 catches for 35 yards and a touchdown. He's only scored in 2 games. He hasn't had more than 62 receiving yards in any game. I hate him right now because he was my number 2 pick at wide receiver in fantasy. I thought he'd be a whole lot better than he was, even with the amount of receivers they have in Houston. Now those receivers are all hurt, and I still don't see him doing anything. So, I'm going to go fact on this one.
Well, the tight end that I'm selling this week burnt me in my buys last week or a couple weeks ago. And despite the fact that there's not a lot of receiving threats on this Jacksonville Jaguars offense anymore, Christian Kirk went down with a collarbone. He's out for the year. I can't remember the other guys that are on that team, but Evan Ingram was the favorite target from Trevor Lawrence and just hasn't really shown up a whole lot lately. He's projected 12.4 at the Eagles, who are giving up the 3rd fewest points to opposing tight ends. Bill, what say you? Fact or crap under on the 12.4?
I think the biggest thing in this one is that he's playing the Eagles. I think that's tough for him, obviously, because like you said, they are really good against tight ends, giving up a very low amount of points. He hasn't been horrible. I think the last 2 out of 3 games he's beaten this, and it's because he scored last week. 2 games prior to that, he actually had over 100 yards receiving. But I think you're right. I think because he's playing the Eagles, that's a problem. I think this is probably a fact. I don't think he scores over, what do you say, 13? Is that what you listed it as? 12.4. It's going to be tough. That's a tough one, though, because, I mean, he was injured for most of the season, so now he's finally getting back on the field, and I just think the Eagles are a pretty good team.
Well, there's your fact or crap, buy and sell fact or crap for this week. We will not be able to give you any more mediocre fantasy football advice until the week after next, so enjoy this as we give you our bye week next week from the show. Bill, we're up against it. Let's go ahead and get to Podcast Pick Ems here. For week 10, as last week was not a good week for either one of us. I went 1-4. You went 2-3. That brings the regular season standings. You were at 19-26. I am at 21-24. So despite me having a bad week, you still couldn't overtake me.
So bad. It's so bad.
Yeah, it's bad. All right, let's talk a couple college football games. We already mentioned them on the show. South Carolina playing host to Texas A&M Saturday, 7:30 kickoff on ABC from Williams-Brice Stadium. The Aggies are a 2.5-point road favorite, which essentially means they would be like a 5.5 to 6-point favorite if we were playing this game in College Station. Bill, what say you? South Carolina hosting the number 10 team in the country.
Oh, I don't want to. So it's a night game?
Yep.
7:30. South Carolina.
Really? I did not expect you to say South Carolina, Bill. I'd already written out Texas A&M on my spreadsheet. Yeah, listen, I'm going to be the homer right now. Give me the Gamecocks to win this game outright. Trey Tolles thinks the same thing with the upset. South Carolina's got a stellar defense. Now, so a couple guys can get hurt, and that can completely change the outcome of this game. But with Kyle Kennard and Dylan Stewart rushing the passer, we had 9 different guys get sacks against Oklahoma a couple weeks ago. We've got a lot of guys that get after the quarterback. Texas A&M might be starting this freshman quarterback that came in relief to overtake the LSU game. The last time a team tried to go with a new quarterback, he was benched in 6 minutes. So if the last thing that Texas A&M can do this weekend is get off to a slow start in Columbia, because the last time Carolina had a bye week, they came off looking very, very slow and lethargic and unprepared. I think it's different this time. I honestly think the Gamecocks could win this game by 10 or more. Give me South Carolina to win this game at home under the lights in Williams-Brice. The other game that we're going to in college football to pick, and we talked about it, it's the big noon game over on Fox, is number 4 Ohio State is a 3-point road favorite at number 3 Penn State over in Beaver Stadium in University Park, Pennsylvania. When I first saw this line, I thought Penn State was favored by 3. I think I just had it backwards. Bill, give me Penn State to cover. Like, I don't know if they win this game, but I'm giving them the edge because they're at home. And I don't know how I feel about Ohio State just yet. You said both of these teams are relevant. Give me Penn State to cover. It's probably going to bite me in the rear, but let's go ahead and do it. Bill, who you got? Penn State, Ohio State.
Again, I don't think either one of these teams scare me on the national level. I think this is Big Ten super team bias that these guys are both ranked in the top 5. I think it's terrible. Ohio State struggled against Nebraska last week, and they were probably looking forward to Penn State. Penn State has literally beaten nobody.
Yeah.
No.
They never do. They never do. They never do beat anybody.
So give me Ohio State in this game.
Yeah, I thought that's what it was going to be. All right, let's go over to the NFL. We got a couple games to pick. Your Miami Dolphins are at the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are a 6-point home favorite.
Why are you doing
this? This is a 1 o'clock.
Why are you going to give me this
kickoff
game?
Honestly, because we haven't got a chance to pick a Miami Dolphins game.
Because they stink.
Listen. Maybe they cover the spread against the Bills. Last week they just needed to knock some rust off.
What South Carolina can win outright, but we have to cover the spread, Ryan. We can't win outright up there in Buffalo.
You can win outright in Buffalo.
Oh,
what say you? I'm gonna let you pick this game first.
Spread. We'll pick the game. Buffalo. Give me Buffalo. Buffalo blows them away.
You think Buffalo blows them away again?
Absolutely. This is going to be so irrelevant. We have a guy going on the cruise with us that's maybe a bigger Dolphins fan. At least he's with that guy that sits in front of the TV even when they're getting destroyed. I usually do that, but in a case where we're on a ship and we're supposed to be having fun, nobody will be watching this game after the first quarter.
Give me the Dolphins.
You're crazy.
I think the Dolphins pull the upset, man.
No way. The Buffalo's so in Miami's head, it's not even funny. When they played them in Miami, Miami couldn't even match up. It was terrible.
If we had more time, I'd talk more about this. Give me the Dolphins to cover, at least to cover the 6. The Lions go to Green Bay. We talked about this a lot on the show as well. 4:25 kickoff, so we can watch your Dolphins play, and then we can watch my Lions play on the boat.
Yeah.
The Lions are a 3.5-point. You can say no. I'll sit behind the bar by myself, I guess. The Lions 3.5-point favorite on the road against the Packers. Give me the Lions to cover, especially with an an injured Jordan Love. Maybe we see Malik Willis in this game. But the Lions have too much momentum going right now, and I don't see the next loss on the schedule, to be completely honest. And that's not me trying to be a homer. They look that good. Give me the Lions. Bill, what say you? Lions, Packers.
I'll take the Lions in this one as well, only because Jordan Love is injured and missed time last week. I think that's probably going to be an issue this week.
All right, the last game we're going to pick this week as a divisional matchup, and I kind of wanted to pick this game because a lot of people that we're going to be on the boat with are from Washington.
Thanks.
So the Los Angeles, this line has actually moved. It started off at 2 and it moved to a 1.5 point spread. The Los Angeles Rams, a 1.5 point favorite on the road, taking on the Seattle Seahawks, who I believe the Seahawks, did they not get blown out this past weekend by the aforementioned Buffalo Bills? But I believe they just signed an offensive lineman. They went out and traded for a linebacker last week. The Seahawks are trying to get better because they want a shot to win this division. That although they might not be the best teams in football, the NFC West is becoming a very competitive division from every team has got something to offer standpoint. Give me the Seahawks to get the win because they're playing at home. Bill, what say you? Rams at Seahawks.
I really hate that you made me pick this game. Really did. The Seahawks are in a tailspin, man. They started 3-0. I think they've gone 1-4 since then. And I think that one win was against the terrible Miami Dolphins with Skylar Thompson at quarterback. So it's been actually, I think maybe that was part of it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They're not that good. Neither are the Rams. So being that it's at home in Seattle, I will take the Seahawks.
All right.
I've been wrong before, especially when we picked the Seahawks against the 49ers. The 49ers smacked them around on their own field. So hopefully the Rams aren't that good.
So I halfway purposely picked two games differently than you, with Penn State and Miami, because I would love to go 5-0 this week.
Wrong again, Ryan.
Bill, I think that's it for our final show for the next 2 weeks. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we sign off?
Go vote.
All right, Bill says go vote, and I'm telling you to go watch some football and keep an eye on the weather down in the Caribbean and pray for some sunshine for us because we're going to need it. That being said, if you want to follow the show, first of all, thanks to everybody who joined the show, whether it was Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. Had some different people popping in here and there, watching what they could. But if you haven't done so already, make sure you go to facebook.com/tapouts and touchdowns, like and follow the show so you'll get the notifications when we go live every Wednesday. On X at Tapouts and TDs, we can't go live on there anymore, but sometimes I'll live tweet during football Sundays. I don't do it all the time, but sometimes I do. Let's see, one more comment before we go. Oh, thanks, Trey. Trey told us to have a great time and be safe.
Thanks, Trey.
On YouTube, at Tapouts and Touchdowns, make sure you go follow and subscribe to that as well. If you want to follow me on on Instagram, I am at Ryan Frick Comedy. Go give me a follow because that's where we're going to go live on Instagram every Wednesday, except for next Wednesday. Bill,
we might go in the middle of the ocean. We might go live for fun.
You might go live in the middle of the ocean. Huh? Is that what is that?
That's what I said.
Maybe we should. Maybe because I guess we can go to overtime. I guess, but I got an internet package.
Yeah,
it's like the best internet package on the cruise. So maybe we can go live for a little bit.
For a little bit. If I don't get in trouble, it would be
just it's like just a football podcast going live on a boat or going live on a beach. Maybe we run into like one of those. Thanks, Andy. Andy says have fun on your cruise. Sorry you can't be there, Andy.
But we were gonna miss you, Andy.
But yeah, maybe we last year we came across some pretty fun stuff that might give me a temporary suspension Facebook. Who knows? Maybe we'll come across some fun stuff to share. Maybe we do go live just to do live reactions for some of the football games we get a chance to watch over the weekend.
Yeah.
But thanks to everybody who watched and participated in the show tonight. Thanks to everybody for your continued support. Remember, there's a part 2 of the Vince McMahon documentary podcast that we did with the Whatever Face that's available on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. So go check that out. Volley Polly's always in the show. Go check out his podcast, Polly's Pick Ems, where he picks football and fantasy football and all that stuff. Really good time there. And then if you haven't done so already as well, make sure you go and follow the Cat Cave on social media. So you'll hear Shannon Smith and I talk about all things Carolina Panthers, the Cat Cave FFSN or the Cat Cave _FFSN over on X and Instagram. Thanks, everybody. For Banker Bill, your guy, Bully Rye. We'll see you next time right here on Tap Outs and Touchdowns.